The Cancer full moon on January 13th is going to bring some peace and healing, but also shock and awe. Hello, my beautiful friends. Well, Mars opposed Pluto in the night. And wow, what a change. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're breathing. I hope you're taking care of yourself and that you've rested up. Just to be honest, the last couple of days, I was not feeling so well. I could barely get off my recliner and just taking care of myself. No energy, headachy, all of those kinds of symptoms. And this morning, I thought, I had ambitions of possibly doing a recording, but I got up and I had so much energy. I still have so much energy that it is very exciting, and I'm very happy. So I hope that this finds you energized. But let's talk about that Mars conjunct Pluto. His energy really overlays the whole month, the next couple of months, and we need to be looking at and watching for what we need to be doing or how we can do things in a different way. Mars energy is right now still in the sign of Leo. He retrogrades on Monday the 6th. By the way, today is January 3rd, so happy birthday to my son. It's really, today is going to be very chaotic. The last few days, the last week, there's just, as we're approaching this second Mars-Pluto opposition with Mars retrograde in reverse and still in the sign of Leo, we need to talk about that. This energy is very much about actually I would consider Mars retrograde in the sign of Leo is that we really need to not act on our impulses. And I think we've seen some of that with the violence, the truck running through the New Year's Eve crowd in New Orleans, the Tesla truck being blown up in front of Trump Tower by a disgruntled Trump supporter, and so many other things. The airplane crashes, and it's good to take a moment and send peace and love and gratitude to those souls who have given their lives over the last few weeks. War-torn areas, there's an escalation in the wars. There are more deaths there. It's really hard to check out the news and see all of this. So taking care of ourselves, doing prayers and sending peace and love and energy to the families that have lost loved ones in all of these tragic accidents. The Mars opposing Pluto energy also relates to, intense earth changes, volcanoes, earthquakes, and we've been having them on the California coast. Intense weather all over the world. So intense water energy, floods, and snowstorms, and the Mars in Leo. Leo is a fire sign. So there can be, in the southern hemisphere of the earth, there can be intense fires and losses through those sorts of activities. So today is an auspicious day, or usually is, in our own government, as Congress is to be seated, as there's to be a new, or a vote for the leader of the House. And, we could literally see with this Mars-Pluto opposition, there is a desire for spontaneous violence, So we could literally see fisticuffs on the floor of the House. And it has happened in the past, so it's not like this would be some, oh my God, this has never happened before. It has. We aren't exactly the most nonviolent country in the world. In fact, we are one of the most violent countries, leader of the world. America, as world leader, is the most violent country in the world. And I can talk more about that later. Mars is really triggering a lot of things this month. And as we move into this week and into next week toward this Cancer full moon, Cancer shifts that energy a little bit. Mars retrogrades back into Cancer on January 6th. So Mars in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, these two very powerful male energy planets. Saturn is more conservative, but and Mars is more Martian or aggressive, can be more violent energy, but they're both being, over these last few months, asked to integrate the feminine, to integrate emotion, to integrate compassion. And it's not necessarily to go to the extremes, which rage is an extreme. These things absolutely can be happening for individuals as well as in countries. So he goes direct. So Mars is backing into Cancer, through this month, and there's lots of triggers that he does. He's still kind of orb of influence with that, opposing Pluto for about another week, but or more. I think the influence will be longer than that. He's also out of bounds through this period, and out of bounds is when he's furthest from the sun, where he's furthest from the earth. This will go on until April 7th. So Mars out of bounds makes his energies much more the maverick, the lone wolf kind of thing. So aggression for those that are distressed, angry, rageful, and possibly mentally ill. And unfortunately, because Reagan got rid of the fairness doctrine that regulated our media, so that it had to be truthful, it had to be fair and balanced. Back in the 80s, that he got rid of that doctrine. As a result of that, people that then look at their silo, look at certain news networks that are known to not tell the truth, get filled with propaganda. And propaganda is huge. It's really huge at this time across the spectrum of the media. So it's a tricky time of having to go inside and kind of figure out, is this the truth, or, maybe I should do some research and investigation. The final Mars opposing Pluto will be in Leo on, once again, the final one. Sometimes the final one is the graduation, or it's the most explosive. But Mars opposing Pluto, April 24th. He goes back into Leo on the 18th of April. So from the 18th through the 24th, tensions can be building that, hopefully what we're doing, having gone through the retrograde, to rethink, redo, reconsider, investigate, research, all of those things with Mars retrograde. As we move through this period of time, hopefully a lot more of what's been going on, a lot more of the investigations, the results of investigations and research will be coming out by the end of April. We could also receive a great deal of information when Mars goes direct on the 23rd of February. So his energy is in everything. So how does that affect you individually? What does that do to you, as a person? Well, for someone who is has very powerful Mars energy in my chart, I have a Mars in Scorpio in the 4th house of home and family. I also am a Leo rising, and he's squaring Pluto and Leo in my 1st house. I've had to learn to release the rage, of my childhood and reclaim my power. So this is an energy that is really very much, it can trigger deep rage, because in order to survive, we learn from a very early age in the world and in this country to suppress our feelings, to suppress our anger. Either because we've been told, we don't count, or they don't want our opinions, or, children are to be seen and not heard. Those kinds of messages, whether overt or subtle in our childhoods, and societally. in our societies, we accept a certain norm of behavior for men and for women, for little boys and for little girls. And I know in the 70s, 80s, particularly, there was a lot of pushback against, girls get the dolls and play house and all this stuff, and the boys get the war toys and etc. I had my staff trained in my childcare center to every day do a half-hour meditation with the kids, and to help them drop into their bodies, to bring peace, to and they were trained, the staff was trained to get down on the level of the child that was in conflict with another and help them speak to their feelings. And how do we not do this? Do you understand that what you just did hurt this person or hurt their feelings or something? So there are ways. I mean, I speak of the children because this is such a powerful time for us to really look at our own inner child, to start working and healing if there's still things unhealed there, but also to adopt the curiosity and innocence of a child, that from looking through our eyes as a child, that curiosity does not allow us to go into judgment. We have to feel as adults safe enough within ourselves that, someone doesn't want to talk to us. It's like, okay, fine. Maybe there'll be another time, right? We are in just really powerful times of fast-paced healing and transformation. Chiron, the wounded healer, finally went direct at the end of December on the 30th or 31st. Anyway, I think the orb of influence is there, so it doesn't matter. Healing started happening again, or clarity around healing, and change. And that applies to everything. That applies to our physical bodies, that applies to the planet, that applies to our governments, our society. We have the opportunity to start to choose new ways of being and doing. And again, keep in mind, this energy with Pluto Aquarius is tied back to our revolution, our revolutionary times where we separated from the church, but also England and the king. So it ties to the American Revolution. Pluto and Aquarius ties to the French Revolution. So, think back to those times and what those themes were about. We are in the dark night of the soul for this country. We are at a time where we have come so far away from our Constitution and our being inclusive of all religions, of all nationalities, races, religions, ethnicities. This is who we started out as, and look at where we are now. So it's like there's so much fear and hatred and distrust of the other, but that has been the propaganda that we have been fed since the 80s, since the 80s, to fear the other. They're taking our jobs, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's time for the people to wake up again. It doesn't have to be a violent revolution. It doesn't. We have to look within ourselves and first heal ourselves, and then come together as a collective, demand that those that are in power, and the Democratic Party still for a little bit is in power. But if not, this month we will need to continue to put pressure on the party, both parties, because we're back to, what happened in the late 20s and 30s, where fascism started coming in and becoming much more popularized in our country. And so, FDR had to deal with that too, along with creating the New Deal that took us out of the Great Depression. And factually, we are in a worse place now than economically, where there's so much wealth that has been extracted from the people up to a handful of oligarchs, that we are worse off than we were in the Great Depression. So please listen to Robert Reich and other economists who can speak to this. And we have a right to be concerned. People are struggling. So what we need to do is not get angry or rageful and to do violent acts in retribution. what we need to do is get moving to, look within ourselves and figure out who are we now and what is our part in doing the transformation. If we move into healing head, heart, healing inner child, empowering ourselves, stopping the old tapes from family of origin, early childhood time periods, stopping the old tapes that keep us stuck in victimization or in anger or in judgment or in all of those things. I am not speaking from a place of judgment. I work on myself. I have had to work on myself with all of that. I have been right among those worst judgers out in the world. And for that, I'm truly sorry for those family, friends, etc. We all are working on these energies. If we are on the planet at this time, even though I've been working on this since I was 13 years old, if we are alive and well on the planet this time, we chose to be here. And we have to be, as we move into Pluto in Aquarius, this is about power going back to the people. And it is about rebalancing. And we have to do the work. We have to share with each other. We have to make a commitment to talk to each other about healing these issues so that we can reconnect, we can talk, we can then come together to help other people heal and come into balance so that we can project love, we can project compassion, forgiveness. There's a song that I sang in a cappella choir, and it was, and I can't remember the name, but it says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched ramparts of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my light beyond the shore," or something like that. I apologize. It's been a long time since I sung that, but it just like popped into my brain. This is the country built on inclusion, built on being a melting pot, built on immigration. And why I say we are in the dark night of the soul, our country was founded on a genocide of the Native Americans. We have not been the good guys with our government, let's put it that way, good guys with the white hats in the world. We have interfered in elections. We have, so there is karma happening at this time to our country, to our government, because of the abuses of power, money, and sexuality that we have put out globally. It is a time for the people to say, no more. No more. It is a time for us to demand that there is inclusion, that we get an equal rights amendment passed immediately. In fact, please, President Biden, could you sign that before you leave office? That women have the right to choose over their, who they want to be, and what happens with their own bodies. There can be no one religion. Religions are going to be collapsing because they too are some of the greatest structures in the world that have abused their power. I know this may feel like heresy to some of you, but it's okay. You don't have to believe me. You'll get to see it and experience it, because Pluto and Aquarius is speaking to the truth. Uranus, it rules the sign of Aquarius. Uranus is about shocking exposure of the truth. We all have to be open and willing to assess our values, our, who we think we are, what we thought we knew, because so much has been hidden from us or we have been lied to, and we all carry some of those misperceptions and conceptions and what have you. We need to all be willing to let go of what we thought we knew. And I have been in the process of this as well. So this is very humbling energy for all of us. When Mercury is retrograde, he's also closest to the Earth. So this also amps up and intensifies his energy. Today he's in retrograde. He's still in Leo. By Monday, he goes into Cancer. I think I mentioned that before. But his retrograde period is going to go from 17 degrees of Cancer to 6 degrees of Leo. So if you have planets or angles like your rising sign, the 7th house cusp, the 4th house of home family, or the 10th house of career, in any of those degrees, his energy is truly impacting you. It can also be the kick in the pants to get out there and do something. One of the things I said, with my Mars and Leo squaring Pluto it can trigger rages. And the most important message around that is when that happens, we need to take some deep breaths, excuse ourselves if we're in a group situation or in a confrontation with an individual. Excuse ourselves, and just simply say, boy, this really triggered me. I need to take some time to, think about this, to kind of figure out what's going on for me with this. And I'll get back to you, but I have to stop right now. And, I'll get back to you when I'm ready to discuss this. So kind of like the, holiday recommendations. Retrograde energy is mostly between January, February, when he goes direct, is signaling to us to go inside, that we need to go inside our but and then here we are. Here's the energy applied to our government, and we're all anxious because they've gone inside. They've gone into, we need to research, rethink, redo, reconsider, look at the legal angles of all this stuff. States are recounting votes. And so even Nevada came out and said the election was stolen in Nevada. So other states, are also doing recounts. So there's and they're finding out how this was done. There's going to be shocking news that comes out as we move into this month, through the month of February, through the month of April, and into May. The changes are going to come so fast, it's going to take our breath away. So turn inwards, don't react, either by going into victimhood or going into aggression, rage, and then step back and reassess, reevaluate. I do have my full moon chart up, and I do glance at that, but when I do these readings, I ask for the guides, guardian angels, ascended masters to come through me with the highest truth, and only what needs to be shared with you all. So when I'm talking really fast, that's usually what's going on. Information is coming through me. And so, whether we call it channeling, probably, I don't know. But it's time to rebuild our own inner sense, our own sense of inner authority. Reevaluate. And then reevaluate how we go out and do things. If we have been defensive and aggressive, then we need to whoa, let's pull back on that, because that gets into judgments. If we go into victim and shut down, it's like, oh no, don't do that. It's like, okay, so this is an old pattern. What is it I'm telling myself when I start to feel those energies of depression? Check in with your little boy or girl to see what they're needing at that time. So the 11th, coming up to this full moon, we also have Eris moving direct at 24 degrees of Aries. And she moves so slowly. But her moving forward says it's time. She's the sister of Mars in Aries, and she's in Aries, so she can tolerate no imbalances, no abuse of individuals or groups. Listening to Pam Gregory the other day, I like her description of Eris is the street fighter. I had erroneously been calling her a bomb thrower, but she threw a golden apple into a wedding. and because she was excluded, and said, to the fairest. If you listen to Pam, she'll tell you this story. So she will fight for justice. She'll fight for the underdog. She'll fight for those that are excluded and underserved. So her energy comes online this month on the 11th, right before the Cancer full moon. We can expect, I think, with this on January 13th, let's see, what day is that? That's a Monday. On January 13th, there's a powerful opportunity, particularly with this moon opposing the sun in Capricorn, and Mars conjuncting that moon. It's like we may actually start to see women pushing back. We can also see concerns around the economy, and the stock market could take some, little hits here and there. The economy has done really, really well under Biden, even though the media doesn't show that. They don't really show his accomplishments in positive light. So you almost have to go to alternative YouTube or Democracy Now! Or some, other channels that actually are known, and you can research and get the facts that they are offering factual information. And they will interview. Democracy Now! Is really good for interviewing researchers or investigators or scientists or people that are trying to bring in the new, or they are whistleblowers, and none of these people are able to get into the mainstream media for an interview. It's time to absolutely find some reliable sources of information so that you can have a better sense of what's really going on. As we're moving also on the 11th, the North Node is at 0 degrees of Aries right before this full moon. So 0 degrees of Aries is on the world axis. So 0 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are cardinal signs. And I've mentioned in the past that our countries have birth charts, some of them multiple ones, as after revolutions. This is a signal. The North Node is dharmically what we're here to do. And this is absolutely, just adding fuel to the fire, more energy to. It's time for us to reassess, redo, rethink, reconsider, and, move into the new. As the North Node backs, because it's the only, the nodes of the moons go counterclockwise. No, they go clockwise, sorry. Whereas the planets go counterclockwise around a birth chart, the nodes of the moon go clockwise. So this energy is now backing into the sign of Pisces after this period of time. And so the North Node will be in Pisces. This is where there can be amazing, amazing opening of intuition, compassion, forgiveness, agape love. And it can, usually when things change signs, there is the exposure of the abuses of that, the losses, the victimization, all of the more negative sides of the deception, lies, deceptions, manipulations, and loss through floods, loss through propaganda, the lies, the losses, So this is going to be 18 months of the North Node going through Pisces, the South Node going through the sign of Virgo. So this is going to, for the next 18 months, facilitate the reset, the healing, the reconsidering, and really a sense of lostness with, the low vibration of the Pisces. North Node in Pisces is like, what just happened? What's happening in our world? The world has gone mad. There's so much need, and it just seems to be getting worse. Don't lose faith. If ever there's a time that we have to keep the faith, it is now. That's, coming up kind of 16 to 18 months of a transit. With Virgo, the Virgo South Node, what's going to happen is these energies are going for 18 months to shift it into more concern, more worry, more fear, in Virgo. But it will also trigger, the high side of Virgo is finding practical solutions, practical applications how do we deal with this? What do we need to do? What are the practical things that I can do in my community if I can't travel, overseas to help, immigration populations, or I can do something locally. I can do something within my own family. We can all participate for the next 18 months. Do not go into victimization. Do not go into fear. If you find yourself going into fear, go to your YouTube astrologer, go to your tarot readers. There are those that that are going to see and look at things from a higher perspective. Those are the ones that you want to talk to. Go to your friends. I know at this point in time, we all, hopefully have friends or will have friends. We can ask for those people to come into our lives that can support us, that we can go having a really bad day. And, I just need to have someone witness or hear me talk about what's going on. And don't want, I used to call them wine calls. I had a women's group, and that we did new moon, full moon. And, if we were having a bad time, we would call and just say, get the glass of wine or I will. And I just need to, release. I need to vent. Don't need anyone to fix anything for me. I need to just release. So for those of us that have a lot of water energy, a lot of emotional energy, we feel things emotionally. And, we do have to learn to manage that ourselves, which is where I'm at this point in time. That was back in the 90s, 80s. Late 80s, early 90s that I, for about 15 years, the whole period of mid 80s to the 90s that I worked with or had this collective group of friends. Cardinal energies also include Libra, like I said, Aries, which is fire, Cancer, which is emotion and family, Libra, which is, relationships. Either are they balanced or out of balance? And people can get really aggressive and very ambitious with Libra energy, as well as they can be the gracious hostess and compassionate, and they can be the doormats, which is the low side of the Libra energy. So give to everyone to their own detriment. I need to mention one other thing that I made a note of here is when we are working with ourselves with these energies, we're looking at the governments, what's going on, we have to consider the planet as well. So Uranus in Taurus is still triggering shocking volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis and crop failures. Looking at food. This Cancer moon would also be speaking to in this particular full moon that we need to really look at in our country in particular, but around the world, that our food is so toxic because the corporations have been allowed to do GMOs. They've been allowed to develop pesticides and herbicides that are very toxic, that make us sick. Also monocroppings, these acres and acres and acres of planting one type of crop is not good. The native tribes know how to plant. You plant amongst trees and bushes and you harvest in your little forest. In the forest, the trees will attract the clouds, so they get water. And the microbes that are in the soil, we have to have them to, be able to put the nutrients and to bring down the sunshine, to put life into our plants and foods. How we do food, how we do security, which is money, housing, our homes, all of those things are up for, we have to reevaluate in a bigly. We have to reevaluate what we're doing in this country, because we have the largest number of homeless people, families and children, women and children, without homes, without jobs, without food. without education. So we are in a crisis. And like I said, dark night of the soul. So this is going to be a time where all of these issues are coming up big time on the planet. And it would be really good if we could collaborate with our allied countries, other countries that are democracies are far ahead of us in regard to not allowing the toxins to be poisoning the people. They all manage. We're the only major country in the world that does not have universal health care for all people and inclusive of natural healing modalities and remedies. I'm a cancer patient and I've spent 12 years and a fortune staying on the planet doing natural healing. There'll be a video about that at some point. So what I'm seeing here is it's a great time for us to, every one of us to go into our hearts, to take some time to meditate, to visualize the world that we want to live in, to visualize the country that we want, to visualize the Aquarian values of egalitarian, of inclusion, of fast-paced change. This won't have to take 100 years. It really doesn't have to. We could, choose that if enough of us, if there isn't that 100th monkey collective awakening, enough people awaken that it's just like everyone else will awaken to some degree, or hopefully, that we then are able to move into change quickly because there's support. Our ET, that's a component of the Pluto Aquarius energy. The ETs are out there to help us with technology, to help us heal the planet. They are also here to keep us from destroying it. They can interfere in our decisions, so we can destroy ourselves, but we can't destroy, they won't allow us to destroy the planet. So I'm all for can we just wake up and grow up? I mean, we are a young country. We could say this is our adolescent temper tantrum and grow up. Why is it these oligarchs, these white supremacists think that they get to, have it all and just, and have whatever they want? I mean, they're all narcissists. So we don't have to let that happen. That's my message today. The other thing that I want to do is to just quickly, from an astrocartography perspective, it's and the birth charts of other countries. I'll just name a few of these and that are going to be very powerfully impacted at this time with this Mars opposing Pluto, but also with this particular Cancer full moon. So Uranus is conjunct Israel, the sun in Israel. So that's going to be a highlight. Washington, D.C., Chiron is on our midheaven, and we are in, our Chiron return at this time. So it takes Chiron 50 years to go around, and he is the wounded healer. His energy is about thinking outside of the box, having outside the box solutions. So when you're sending prayers to our leadership that are negotiating to try to fix the mess that we're in, send Chiron energy of healing and creativity, outside the box solutions to them. The moon and Mars also conjunct the ascendant of the US chart. So this is the people, where people are waking up and we need to take action. We need to, as well as the government needs to take action for the people. That's why they were voted into, to the degree that, we actually, our votes counted over the years. So it's also angular in other countries. So there's a whole bunch of planets where South America, Venezuela, Brazil. It's on the midheaven in East Africa, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya. The Uranus is on the fourth house cusp, relating to the people of Central Australia and Tokyo. China, it's the moon is at 3 degrees. So Pluto opposes Mars at 3 degrees of Aquarius. So there's potential challenges for the people, or for food, or for independence, desire for independence in China. Pluto also is in 2026 will be conjuncting the ascendant of China, so the rising sign, which is the identity of the country. Some other countries, New Zealand, it's conjunct New Zealand, opposing their sun. It's conjunct their midheaven. Leaders in leadership are going to be, and the parties are going to be shaken up a bit. It's conjunct Israel's midheaven. The sun is actually on their ascendant. So there's going to be some powerful energies. Uranus is also conjunct the sun of Israel. In Iraq, it's conjunct the sun at 21 degrees of Cancer. And France, Ethiopia, Australia. So these are all going to be impacted. You may be seeing news of, changes, shocking changes going on in these particular countries. What's really important is for us to go inside, to find love, joy, and peace, to be able to calm our nervous system, to, who are we now? And to hold that vision, keep the faith, because things are changing and the truth will be revealed. And we will be learning the truth for the next decade. Governments are kind of bad about keeping secrets, but lots going to be coming out about our government, about what's going on in other governments in the world. And so, it's a matter of what's important to you, be part of the collective of what's good for we the people. What's good for we the people, what's good for the planet, what's good for the world. What's good for us is going to be good for the peoples of other countries. And so we will stop this move toward fascism. We will. It will stop. If it's not this month, next month, the next 6 months, the next 2 years, it will be stopped. Those are old energies and they will not survive. They will not be able to move forward. Okay, I think that's really all I need to say at this time. Oh, I'll just throw in at the last second. Hakeem Jeffries is a Leo, so Mars is affecting him. And there are other Leos in our government that they will be highlighted over the next few months as they step into leadership and courage. So we can shift ourselves and our country, which will then impact the world into a much more loving reality. Take care of yourself, keep the faith, much love, and I'll see you later. Thanks for showing up.